Welcome, everybody. My name is Julio Franco. I'm the managing director for the Americas at Zappy Store. If you don't know what Zappy Store does, we are a technology company that automates the best market research methodologies in the world. And we give access to big and small companies to make sure they do as much research as they possibly can, very quickly and inexpensively. However, I'm not here to talk about Zappy Store. What I'm here to talk about is, out of the clients that we work with, which are the ones that are really doing things slightly different, and it's helping them move from being, order takers to being business drivers and move forward. I actually don't have a clicker, so I don't know how I can kind of like move the slides forward. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Sorry. All right, so before I get started with those 6 things, a few little things about me and why you should give a damn about what I'm saying. One of the things is I bleed market research. This is my industry. I was born in a family of market researchers. I was following my dad when I was 5 years old, assisting him as he did focus groups. And I've had the good luck of working at different insight organizations. So I work at boutique market research company. I worked for Ipsos for over 10 years. I also helped develop and establish an insight function from scratch at a global financial services company. So what that gives me is empathy, because I've been the guy that gets the random call at 5:30 from your client saying, I need a deck tomorrow because I'm meeting with the CMO and I'm not entirely sure what the meeting is going to be about, so I need everything we know about millennials. I've also been the guy that has called my partner and said, holy crap, I have a meeting tomorrow with the CMO. I need you to help me with everything that we've ever done with millennials. Now, what that gives me is context, and I understand kind of like the pains from both sides. But what I'm going to talk to you about is the experience that I've gained over the past few months since I joined Zappy. I joined Zappy in September. And since then, I've been able to work with 150 companies across the continent, meeting with them, understanding their insight process, and making it better, making it quicker, making it less expensive, and making sure that they get really actionable insights every day. We have the benefit of working with many companies because we do research quickly. So we've done business with, the big global market leaders, as well as startups. We work with people within the insight function, also in the marketing function, people of all seniority levels and all industries. So the good thing is I have a good kind of like round vision about the market research industry and what things are working and what things are not working. I also want to set the stage, even though I don't need to do this, because we've had all the conversations and all the chats that have predated this one. Brands are under a lot of pressure. You guys know that. To protect and grow market share is harder than ever. So companies are just basically fighting more for their market share. Now, the weapon that they have to protect share and grow share is marketing, which is really good news. The bad news is that while marketing budgets are increasing, market research budgets are actually decreasing. So that is a bit concerning for all of us in this room because it basically tells us that we are not being as relevant. So what I'm going to talk to you about is what are the 6 things that are being done, but those insight professionals and those insight functions that are not having their budgets cut and their teams cut, but rather the other way around. The people that are getting promoted, the people that are having their slides being sent directly to the CEO, and the CEO making decisions on them. Some of the things that I'm going to tell you are going to seem obvious, but much harder to implement. Some of the things that I'm going to tell you about, you may disagree with, and I think that's great. And I want to make sure that there is a little bit of controversy, and if you disagree, let's just have a conversation about it. Now, the one point that I want to make is, this is not our opinion, it's just a compilation of what are those successful researchers doing. So let's get started. The first thing is researchers are accepting that the old way isn't working. I'm originally from Colombia, and we have a saying which is, que no se puede tapar el sol con un dedo. You cannot cover the sun with one finger. That is not what these successful researchers are doing. They know that it's not going to go back to the way it used to be. We heard it this morning. The days of 80 slides decks are dead. What they are doing is they've embraced a new way, and they have realized that there are better ways of doing research. Now, the funny thing about it is, before joining Zappy, I had a hypothesis, and I was assuming that those people that embraced automation were going to be kind of like younger or not as jaded by market research. That is not the case. The funny thing is, age has nothing to do with it, seniority has nothing to do with it, the size of the company has nothing to do with it. But we have identified a single variable that does make a difference when understanding just how open are our clients to doing things in a different way. And that is when we start talking to them about research automation, we get two reactions. One is they're fearful. Will this replace my job, right? And then the other one is, damn, this can make my job a lot better. We work with both. And the truth is, you can change, but if your initial reaction is to be fearful, you have more work to do. You need to start changing your mindset a little bit. The people that are really successful are those that see an opportunity, not those that see a threat. And if you see a threat, then you should be actually worried about it. Now, ultimately, it's just a matter of how you approach your job. There are a lot of programs out there that are estimating the likelihood of different functions or jobs to being automated. I just took one of them that utilizes SOC code, so from the Labor Department. And if you describe what we do as gathering information about markets, about marketing plans, about products, about consumers, this particular program I'm talking about is estimating a 62% chance that our business is going to be automated. On the other hand, if you describe it as directing business decisions about marketing, about products, to increase market share and profits and keep your clients basically happy, the likelihood of automation is 1.4%. So it really is a matter of how we approach it. Now, for those of you that are fearful, I do want to go in a slight tangent for a second, and that is, we do see that it may not necessarily be a man versus machine discussion, but rather a man and machine discussion. So for example, at Zappy Store, we do not talk about AI or artificial intelligence. We're actually trying to move the conversation and working actively towards IA, so intelligence augmentation. What we want to do is we want to be kind of like inside cyborgs that take our knowledge of our business, knowledge of the consumer, and take all of the things that we can bring from machines to do data quicker and move the business forward. The picture that you see on the screen is the first guy that was kind of like heralded as man versus machine. Gary Kasparov was a chess champion that lost to an IBM computer 20 years ago this year. He actually tells you that man and machine is better than man versus machine. The second thing is, these researchers are not taking research so damn seriously. They understand that research is important, but it's important in order to make decisions. They know that CEOs, CMOs, and brand people are not going to take their perfect design and submit it to a journal article. That's cool, and there's a place for it. It's just not the boardroom. So what these guys are doing is they're not overcomplicating things. And they're switching from interesting findings into just very tangible things that the business can do to grow. They're moving away from statistical significance to relevant significance. So what they're not doing is just giving numbers and interesting stories. They're giving the business not just the what and the why, but the so what and now what for the business. We heard about it this morning as well. Similar to that, they are not overcomplicating sample. Segmentations, typing tools, and very narrow target audience can be great, but these successful researchers are being judicious about it. They're not just automatically going and saying, oh yeah, we need to do our research with our typing tool, and we need to talk to people that run 3 times a day on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. There's a place for that, but what is the point of doing it if that's going to mean that the research is going to take 6 weeks and it's going to cost $100,000? That's interruption to the business. So they're moving away from that. In some cases, they will do that, but if it cannot be actioned by the company, by the brand, they're just not addressing it. They're not dealing with it. Next thing, they're getting a tight grip on digital. We all have heard of all the different numbers that show that digital marketing is growing. Digital marketing only takes 40% of budgets within major organizations right now. but only 10% of inside functions are involved with it. And the reason for that is because us as researchers have given that up. We do not feel comfortable with digital. So we're saying that is not our realm. So with the exception of a few little things like, usability testing or, potentially some like ethno on how things get used, we have just given that away. And what that means is that we are not involved in 40% of those conversations. That's a problem. It's a problem for us because we're not relevant, but it's also a problem for the brand. Because what that means is the companies and the brands are putting out a lot of content out there that hasn't been vetted by consumers. They're making decisions based on programmatic and A/B testing. They're making decisions based on what's. And they are not learning from the whys. So successful researchers are owning that. They're going to the business and saying, we need to stop it. We need to bring the consumer back into the digital conversation, and they're improving everything that has to do with digital marketing. So they're doing kind of like little pieces of research and doing then meta-analysis around it to inform their business, not only where to place media, but also what is the best content to put in what types of media. I can give you more examples about that afterwards if you're interested. Fifth thing that they're doing is they're challenging their legacy systems. Many organizations have legacy systems that either mandated or just based on usage have become a currency, right? So you're doing it because we've always done it. Some of those brands love them. Some of them actually hate them and still have to use them, which is fine. What these guys are doing is they are assessing it. If they have the power to do it, sometimes they're completely changing it and revamping the system to something that makes more sense for them. A lot of what we hear is we need a system that it's a better predictor of in-market success. We need something that it's quicker. We need something that it doesn't take as long or something that is not as expensive. In some other instances, what they're doing is they're supplementing those legacy systems. So they're testing earlier and doing it in an iterative way so that when they get to that legacy system towards the end of that journey, they have better results. And most importantly, they have better results in the marketplace. The one thing to keep in mind there, though, is organizations have invested a lot of money and a lot of time in building insights from those legacy systems. So what they have been doing is they've identified what are the key things that they need to bring forward with them. It's kind of like grabbing like your greatest hits when you moved from having a CD collection into the cloud, right? You didn't bring all of your CDs, you brought the ones that matter. That's what they're doing as well. So they're bringing the stuff that matters so they don't have to give that up, but they're not using it as a ball and chain to stay to something that it's really antiquated. None of us are using, the old first generation Mac and floppy disks anymore. For the most part, we've moved to the cloud, right? It's the same thing. The last thing, which is to a certain extent kind of like a reflection of all of the other things that I've mentioned, is that they're learning from their learnings. You remember the movie 50 First Dates, where Adam Sandler asks Drew Barrymore to fall in love with him every single time? That's what we're doing at Insights. It's kind of like inside amnesia. Because of turnover in organizations, bad systems to keep data, PowerPoints that are 120 pages long and sit in somebody's drive, silos between teams, the shelf life of insights is very short. So what innovative and successful researchers are doing is moving away from that. They're not thinking about the project. They're thinking broader. They're thinking business. So they're linking different projects together. And the fact that now they don't have to spend as much time in the process, that means that they have more time in their hands. It also means that they have more data that they have collected quickly and they can interrelate. So they've put together a bit of a winning formula. They have more time, they have more data, they utilize tools that allows them to have accessibility to the data very quickly, and then they're inserting their thought leadership, their understanding of the consumer, their understanding of the business, and they are bringing in business learnings. I'll give you an example of those. Companies spend a lot of money in big sponsorships of celebrities. What these guys are doing is they're understanding the impact of having a celebrity in their advertising. And they're measuring it. And they're going back to the business and saying, A, it is worth it to have a celebrity. But it's also worth it to have it in these particular instances. And that way, what happens is when you are paying Michael Jordan millions of dollars to go into a studio, you know exactly what it is that you're shooting and where to place it to make sure that you're as successful as you can be. I'm a big believer in muscle memory, so I'm going to go back to those and I'll repeat them. So number one is they've accepted that the old way isn't working and they're embracing the new way. They're focusing on research being a business decision vehicle and not just an interesting findings. They're not over-engineering the sample. They're getting a grip on digital, a tight grip on digital. They're challenging their legacy systems, using them where it's relevant, but also bringing the valuable data and the valuable insights with them in newer systems that they're adopting. And finally, they're learning from their learnings. Before I let you go, I included this slide kind of like last minute. Last week, we were at a CMO event in Florida, and we had conversations with a lot of C-suite. And what they told us was, we don't really care about market research. Market research is only a lens. And we see it sometimes as an interruption of business. When somebody comes to us and tells us that doing research will take 2 weeks, we can't really do that. So I want to challenge you guys to move away from having research being an interruption of business and rather it being a disruption of the marketplace. If we do insights in an iterative way, if we incorporate these 6 things and you bring insights into business decisions, what we can do is we can actually disrupt the market instead of having us and our industry being disrupted. So, I challenge you to do that. I think that together we can get us back to where we need to be, which is the consumer at every decision that is made by the business. And these are just some of the 6 things that the successful people that are in that business table are doing. Thank you very much.